Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Monday, February 10th, 2014. Tomorrow, February 11th, is, I believe, George Washington's birthday, and it's also Alex Jones's birthday. And in honor of his birthday, I am honoring his special request to really promote this article, Bloomberg Caught in Secret Gun Confiscation Plan. And evidently, Mayor Bloomberg is meeting with mayors and teaching them how to secretly confiscate guns. Alex considers this to be huge news and really wants to raise the alarm on this issue and let people know. And interestingly enough, there is just such tremendous hypocrisy in this kind of push from the Daily Caller. And there were a lot of tweets about this, so I'm sure this article is in many other places. Gun stun, gun control activist swears he forgot he was carrying gun while visiting school. A Buffalo, New York community activist who is well known locally for pushing for a highly restrictive 2013 gun control law has been arrested for, wait for it, carrying a gun illegally at a public elementary school.
This is great because this really shows it's more than hypocrisy. It's what you see in this small-time criminal, I'll call him that, is the attitude that you see in the bigger ones, and he is not smart enough to graduate to the big leagues, so he actually shows us the mindset of being above the law. So the guys at the very top, their whole thing is about disarming the people, and they will do whatever they can, lie, and then they have no compunctions about lying. The whole Bloomberg story that's being exposed is saying that their spin on it is to say, oh, we're not really trying to take your guns, it's just this, and this makes sense, and this is just to keep the people safe. And if you actually read what they're doing and go down into the levels of the plan, you'll find out, yes, they do want to take all the guns. They're just going to tell you that you're crazy if you think that. It's an actual tactic, like from Mars Attacks, don't shoot, we are your friends.
Don't shoot, we are your friends. Referring to another movie here, can you say Manchurian Candidate? Ex-General David Petraeus says Hillary Clinton would make a tremendous president. And this is, their military people can be mind controlled just as politicians and other leaders can be mind controlled. And I'm guessing that may be partly the case here.
Are you sure he didn't say Hillary Clinton is the kindest, gentlest, most wonderful person I've ever known? I think the quote was something like that, wasn't it?
It was something like that, yes. He may have said that. That did not make the headline and did not make the article. But he probably said that as well. She would make just a tremendous, tremendous president. That's what he said. But there have been a lot of articles with information released recently that would call that into question.
Yeah,
Papers.
There has been. This is great stuff. I skimmed through it, and it's a lot of information about Hillary and also Bill and some of their background. Maybe not some of the most heinous stuff that they've done, but some of the psychological mindset that gives you a clue about what's going on. And this is the kind of stuff that I believe that the people that are trying to get the truth out into the mainstream media want to have come out. And I've seen a big push for this kind of thing on Facebook too, because now is the time to really make sure that Hillary is not able to build the kind of support that she needs in order to become president, which of course is the goal for 2016.
And there is a lot of, just for people who don't know the background, There have long been rumblings that the Clintons were really essentially quite evil people. And from the Patriot Post's Clinton friends who knew too much, this is actually a pretty conservative list.
Yeah, and those of us that were following this in the '90s and were in conservative circles, and who knew that George Bush wasn't a real conservative, we knew all this about Clinton. But what I do want to say that I think that Rand Paul is extremely courageous in coming out and calling Bill Clinton a sexual predator. That is actually huge, and that really makes him a big-time target. They can't have people going around saying things like that. I would be willing to bet that Rand Paul knows that that places his life in danger, and he has counted the cost and is taking measures to do that. He knows that you can't mince words when you deal with these people. You have to come out with both guns blazing, and he's doing that, and I'm very impressed.
And the filmmaker D'Souza, who was, I think he was arrested. He's certainly been affronted, and they're trying very hard to limit him. A lot of people refer to the film that he recently made, but his next project that he had planned was an expose film about Hillary. And I suspect that that is really the reason why he's under greater scrutiny, not necessarily the film that he just completed, although that may be valuable to the Truth and Liberty movement. But an expose on Hillary could just be very, very damaging. And I suspect that that's really the concern they have about D'Souza.
I agree with that too. Yeah, these people really are shoring up Hillary for 2016. That's been the long-term plan, and Liberty people are trying to shoot it down now. And I would say, do all you can to expose her. We definitely have to avoid having her become president.
And interestingly enough, Fritz Springmeier, I believe he probably heard from God in writing this post, because this came out just before the Hillary Papers articles and tweets started to appear. Grand damn Hillary, our next prez. And Fritz in this article explores who Hillary is, but not only who she is, also how she was developed. And she actually is a mind control, a true Manchurian candidate. Groomed from childhood, both Hillary and Bill were part of a small pool of children selected and groomed by the Illuminati to become president. And interestingly enough, Hillary, early in her political life, was a Republican. For a while, as an undergrad, she was an intern with Republican Congressman Gerald Ford and was part of the Rockefeller wing of the Republican Party.
And we don't have to remind people who already know, although new people may not, because we didn't for a while, that Gerald Ford was a known pornographer and basically totally controlled by the cabal, and was allowed to come into the presidency because he towed the line on the Warren Commission and helped support that phony report about the assassination of JFK. He knew what happened, and he kept his mouth shut. And that is the kind of person that helped groom Hillary early in her career. And the bumbling Gerald Ford is not who we thought he was. He was just a mafia stooge.
Absolutely. And so there's just more background information on Hillary here, and it's all good stuff. And also, with Fritz's posts, he posts on Facebook, and the comment section always contains a lot of great information, because on Facebook, when Fritz posts and people comment, if they ask him questions, he will actually answer. He fields questions. So sometimes in the comment section, the really interesting information comes out, and some people have excellent comments too. So Fritz is highly recommended for information.
It really helps to show you how awake people are and how many awake people there are, because even though I get Fritz's post. I don't have time to read all the comments or comment myself. And just the fact that there are always, whenever you check, 2 or 3 just very insightful comments really goes to show how widespread this awakening is. And in interactions on Twitter, I will notice people that will say things in another subject that will indicate to me that they understand that the sociopaths and the psychopaths are running our government. And they don't say it quite that boldly, but that if I send them a direct message privately, they'll confirm that for me, that they've been there. And it's usually people like Cindy and me that have had experience with them in our personal lives, and we can see them in high places. A lot of people compartmentalize and don't really realize that those people, that the evil type people they've experienced in their personal lives are actually in government as well. But some people do make that leap, and a lot of people I'm finding. So a lot of awake people are out there. It's really encouraging.
It is encouraging indeed. And last week I reported that the TPP was in trouble, that Obama was not going to be able to push it through. But the U.S. Treasury is having some emergency meetings, trying to revive it, trying to finally put it through. And I'll just skip to this paragraph. Given that it appears that the U.S. Treasury is in panic mode and has frantically called an all-day meeting for all, quote, cleared advisors, end quote, that is, the corporate representatives who actually do get to see the document, concerning the whole transparency issue. And in case you weren't aware of this, the TPP is, first of all, very threatening to intellectual property freedom, and secondly, it's a bill. It's been before Congress, but Congress is not permitted to read it or even see the document. Only cleared advisors, as this article states, who are lobbyists, have seen this treaty.
Yeah, the TPP is NAFTA on steroids, having to do with trading with Asia, and what it does is it gives the large corporations a lock on any trade, and it takes the whole arena of trade out of the hands of the common people and small business that might want to be able to buy widgets from China or whatever they need to make their goods. They're going to have to go through the corporate cabal in order to stay in business, and they won't be able to stay in business because this is a monopoly squeeze. This is the big guys shutting out the little guys. First, they make a nation dependent on other nations for all of their supplies that they need to run their business, and then they take their big behemoths and make a monopoly out of that. And this is the second stage of that game. That's what the plan is, and it must be stopped.
Absolutely. And EFF has a lot of great articles on the TPP if you are behind in that information and would like to catch up. This is just kind of a follow-up article. This is from LaRouche Pack, and I had mentioned the issue of Ukraine unrest being stirred up by the cabal, and from LaRouche Pack, more evidence of Western-backed dirty tricks surfaces in the Ukraine. So it's becoming more and more obvious that this is not grassroots resistance to tyranny, but that it has a lot to do with Ukraine's resistance to becoming part of the EU.
It's obvious to people paying attention, but the mainstream media still doesn't know, and you'll still get people trying to say that the West is trying to help the Ukraine when it's actually trying to enslave them. And yeah, so this is the kind of thing exactly where you need to be getting your main information from the alternative media, not the mainstream.
I found it amusing. We were watching an older article of the TV series Scandal yesterday, and the president gave a speech, and he was talking about individual rights and some of the freedom values that we embrace. And it was kind of amusing because within the context of that TV series, the president really does seem to have good intentions, But I couldn't even imagine Obama giving a speech about supporting and protecting individual rights in banana republics, because we're a banana republic now.
I actually found a quote this morning from Obama and I posted it on Facebook and Twitter, where he says that this is the quote, verified quote, that although that there are individual rights, that doesn't mean that the state can't override those rights.
Wow. Yeah,
Well,
there it is.
it's that's plain double speak right out of 1984, saying that rights are not rights. That's and he does all this with a straight face and expects people to believe him. But as far as the scandal mindset of the president talking about being the leader of the free world and being a society of individual rights, I think that that's a great example of the type of mind control that's often used. On the one hand, it helps wake up people that recognize those key points, and to say, wait a minute, America can still be this. And then on the other hand, it puts people to sleep thinking that America really is this now, and and he just talks about being it. So um, I'll choose to err on the side of this is a good thing, because it's always good to have people that believe America is what it says it has always been, the land of individual liberty. And that gives those of us that want to really, who do see the encroachment, and it's worse than that, of tyranny, and to fight against it, because we know that these people that watch these TV programs will end up supporting us, because the lies are coming down. They have to. These guys are being more and more visible. That's why I think the Snowden NSA spying scandal is just a brilliant tactic, because even though everything that Snowden has said has been exposed before, it's hitting mainstream in a way that is really waking people up, and they say, no, we don't want to live in this.
That's great. And speaking of losing individual rights, the Marine Corps Times first casualty in headquarters war to professionalize. Independent newspaper does not conform to new Marine Corps message, Brass says. And so they're making it more difficult to find.
This is another example of the centralized control and the gradualism of squeezing out anybody that doesn't toe the party line. And when you have liberty and freedom, you have independent groups like Marine Corps Times, whose mission is to support patriotic people within the Marine Corps. But what happens when the tyrants get control of the top? They actually disenfranchise these types of entities, so that they're left to be on their own and not have access to the very markets that they were originally serving. And it's really a draconian measure that this is happening. But I have to say it's in keeping with some of the recent things that we've learned privately about the Marine Corps. It's sad, but there's going to have to be a reversal of this in the process of getting our country back.
And maybe some nice patriots can go to the PXs and put in the InfoWars magazine.
Oh, that'd be totally cool.
Changing gears here, from the Mirror, generation stress, scandal of our depressed kids as thousands of under 10s are treated for mental health problems. And of course, this is UK news. This is in the UK. But certainly, I'm sure this is worldwide, or at least in developed countries. This is an article about how much pressure is on children. And I'm also just bringing this up partly because of, it says they're being treated. Well, how are they being treated? They're being treated with pharmaceutical drugs. So here you have 10-year-olds who are being given prescription mind-altering drugs.
Yeah, This is pure problem reaction solution. Oh, the poor kids, they're so stressed now. Well, who created the stressful environment? Won't let them go out in the streets and play. Claims that's evil and bad, and gets them locked into the brainwave entrainment from their computer screens, etc. So this is and creates the long school hours that don't cause the kids to learn anything, and teach. It's really just teaching them to obey authority, and of course that's stressful. It's the old style schooling where kids were in small classrooms and could receive individual attention that was actually focused on learning. Believe it or not, that is much less stressful. So they're creating the problem, then they're offering the solution, which is drugs. And that's exactly where they wanted to take this. They want drugs to be able to control the minds of the young people and be able to make them into good little sheeple. I'm envisioning the scenes right out of the Roger Waters'
Yeah.
Pink Floyd to the Wall. That's really what's going on here.
Hey, it's stressful when somebody tries to break your spirit, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe they should just stop that, and then they wouldn't need the drugs, right? Oh, that'd be too simple.
Well, referring to the drugs, and this is not new news, but John Rappaport wrote about it over the weekend, and this is one of the topics that always seems worth mentioning: the Starfield revelations. And Barack Obama and his allies have done everything they can to bring more people into the U.S. medical system. And this article goes on to state it is the Starfield revelations. In Starfield Study, is U.S. health really the best in the world? Published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, these following conclusions were addressed. Every year in the U.S., there are 12,000 deaths from unnecessary surgeries, 7,000 deaths from medication errors in hospitals, 20,000 deaths from other errors in hospitals, 80,000 deaths from infections acquired in hospitals, 106,000 deaths from FDA-approved, correctly prescribed medicines.
Well, death is a side effect.
It is. You're right. In most of those commercials,
Yeah.
many of those commercials.
But it's for the greater good.
Well,
But forget about that Hippocratic oath about never harming anybody.
it depends on how nice the vacations are that your pharmaceutical rep offers you, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of the Hippocratic oath?
I
Is that a
think that's
caveat? It's in the fine print?
I think that's in version 2.0 of the Hippocratic Oath.
And of course, that's the one American doctors are embracing at this time. Most of them.
Of course.
So yeah, just a little reminder of what goes on as far as human health, according to the cabal. Now here's a really interesting tech happening. Before we saw this headline, neither one of us had even heard of this cute little car. Tata Motors managing director Carl Slim suicided. Wife framed, and this is ruled a suicide. This death was ruled a suicide, but his wife wrote the suicide note. So they're definitely, I don't mean to laugh, it's really tragic, but there are definitely some questions here.
And my reaction to this is, really? They think they're going to stop the emergence of new technology with tactics like this? I mean, don't they know how widespread new inventions are, and do they really think that they're going to be able to keep the lid on them this way? I guess when you've used mafia tactics for over 200 years and they've been working, there's no reason to stop, right?
Well, it has worked. Just a little bit more about this car. It evidently runs on compressed air. And there is a lot more information here if you're interested.
Yeah, it's at a very low temperature, and the exhaust from it comes out below zero, and it's called an air car, but it doesn't run on the air. It actually has wheels, etc. And it's all very electronic and very modern, and of course very energy efficient. It is twice as efficient energy-wise as the electric car is. So that's the threat. And I think that the powers that be that run the not only the petroleum industry, but also where they have captured the emerging technology in terms of electric cars. This is a threat because it far surpasses what they had planned to transition to, and that they would be able to control. This is a wild card that they didn't want to be played.
Well, the widow wrote the suicide note, so I'm guessing that she probably holds the rights to the plans for this car, and all they have to do is buy her off and stifle this technology. And this actually has worked very effectively for quite some
what
time.
they'll do is they'll integrate the technology into some other stuff, and they'll say they improved it when they actually watered it down.
And just as note that that many technologies that could vastly contribute to the welfare of humankind, from Wired magazine, government secrecy orders on patents have stifled more than 5,000 inventions.
Yeah. Don't think that the patents are intended to protect intellectual property rights, which is the cover story. The patent office is really about controlling creativity, and people think that the inventors get the royalties. Well, that's not how it ends up. It's the corporations that get the entity. So in a free society, the patent office would be very much different. And I know Electronic Frontier Foundation is in the forefront of helping to brainstorm that future transition. And I'm hoping that it's going to be here soon, because we see lots of signs that we are nearing breakthroughs.
And here is an example of that for our good news of the day from U.S. News. Lights out for NSA. Maryland lawmakers push to cut water and electricity to spy agency headquarters.
This is amazing. To me, it's almost too good to be true, because Maryland is right there next to Washington, D.C., and if they can cut off the spying in and around Washington, well, then it can be done anywhere. Of course, the second thought I have is that there are a lot of people being spied on that don't want to be spied on, that are powerful people, and this is where that would be happening. So it makes sense to me, but it's also a good thing that these guys are standing up, whether, even if it's only out of self-interest.
Well, and once people learn, generally, if this is effective, once people learn this can be done, certainly this practice can spread, and any place that has spy agency facilities can cut off their utilities.
Yep, great strategy.
It is a good strategy. So with that, thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning.
Live long and prosper.
Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.